I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United It's time for any agenda modifications. Does anyone on the council wish to modify the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Sorry. Yes, if prior to vote on consent, if I could be given the opportunity to address item 8D, I just wanted to add a little clarification. That is the National Fitness Campaign Healthy Cities Grant for a fitness installation.
And also, Mayor, on item 10C, it's not a change to the agenda, but for the public to be aware, we had some additional technical issues in uploading to the agenda our legislative subpoena, which is an exhibit to the resolution. And so that has been corrected, and there are copies actually available at the desk when you enter if the public wanted to receive a copy of the correct document.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is presentations. The first is a proclamation. I have before me proclamation number 2024-04. It's a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Lincoln declaring September to be National Service Dog Month. Whereas we believe the joyful and transformative of the human canine bond is exclusive to all citizens. Whereas in the United States, 64 million adults and children have a disability, and only 16,000 services dogs from accredited training facilities exist nationwide, and the need is growing. Whereas Canine Companions is a nonprofit organization that enhances the lives of people with disabilities by providing expertly trained service dogs and ongoing support to ensure quality partnerships. Whereas Canine Companions and their service dogs empower people with disabilities to lead a life of greater independence by providing best-in-class training, ongoing follow-up services, and a deeply committed community of support. Whereas National Dog Service Month aims to educate our community about the benefits of service dogs and the laws protecting them. And whereas the City of Lincoln continues to work towards becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens and their service dogs are embraced. Now be it therefore proclaimed that the City Council of Lincoln encourage all citizens to celebrate their service dogs, be respectful of the rights afforded to the adults, children, and veterans who lead a more independent life because of their assistance, and further proclaim September to be the National Service Dog Month. I'd like a motion of acceptance.
Move approval of the proclamation.
Second.
Motion and a second. We just voice vote or voice vote.
Aye.
All those in
Aye.
favor say aye. Thank you.
To receive that, or is it just, was there anybody to receive that, or are we just doing it?
He is online.
Oh, okay.
Brian, I wasn't sure if you wanted to. You can
Yes,
unmute yourself if you'd like to, Ryan.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll send that proclamation out to you.
Thank you so very much. It means a lot to all of us in the community. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you very much for the work you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is the salt mine project update. Pastor Eric Long.
Hi there. Thank you guys again for allowing me to share about the salt mine. I'll just take a few minutes, and I know it's going to have a long night, so I will be brief. But I am just thrilled. Forgive me for I might get even a little emotional. So ask for your forgiveness ahead of time. We're a faith-based charity. The salt mine is. This coming year will be our 40th year in operation, which is pretty awesome. Salt is a healing agent, and we believe that the salt of the earth is what we are supposed to be. So just for the sake of understanding our language, we refer to everyone we help as a neighbor. 96% of our neighbors that we help are in homes, and we truly believe that the work that we do keeps many from going homeless. Homeless prevention is really a key, we believe, to a thriving community. There's countless testimonials I hear regularly from people that they simply say, if it weren't for the salt mine helping them with food and with other utilities and other resources, we would be living in our car, or worse, living down at the creek. So with that being said, we are extremely excited about the shower laundry space that has finally been put into play, finally, through many delays. And some may believe that those delays are kind of worked out to be perfect timing. It's finally finished, and we're excited about it. And we actually have a video that we'd like to share, if that can be shared. That can pop up.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the city officials, the community at large, the city of Lincoln for sponsoring, helping us put in our shower/laundry facility at the salt mine that's right now fully operational, and we couldn't have done it without you. This shower space is a sanitary, safe place for our neighbors, the unhoused in our community, to get a good, clean shower and feel encouraged about themselves. And that's what we love to do. We love to instill hope and courage and just be a blessing to our community. And that's everybody in our community, especially the unhoused, because they need that extra support. And we at the Salt Mine love doing that. And it's part of our mission. And we just thank you that we can do this. And we do it with your help. We do it with your support. Just as we needed your help to put this shower space, laundry space into motion and build it, to develop it, we need your help also to maintain it. So please consider us during these times. Please donate, please give, so that we can keep it going. We're always wanting to do more. We're always wanting to do more to love our neighbors right where they're at. We're wanting to bless them. We're wanting to figure out ways that we can actually help them get from one situation that's really, really difficult to another situation that would be wonderful and good for them. So please help us to do more for our community and bless our community and bless our unhoused in our community. Thanks again. Thanks for letting me share that. That video went out to thousands of residents throughout our community, and I'm a public speaker, and I hate seeing myself on video. So I wanted to share a couple of testimonies already. It's been in operation for 2 weeks now, the shower space. But even before that, I don't know if you noticed the washer and dryer in that space. One of our delays was that $8,000 washing machine was lost somewhere in the Ethernet, is what they call it. I don't know how you lose that big of a machine in the Ethernet, but it came finally. That took an extra month and a half to get, but we're so excited that can do the equivalent of 4 residential loads all at once in about 30 minutes, and those machines are pretty awesome. One of the testimonies, there's a couple I wanted to share real quick. One of them was kind of made me chuckle a little bit as this young man was talking to me. He said, I normally don't use your shower, but I wanted to check it out. I heard all about it. It's awesome. Thank you. And then this next one was really, really amazing, I think, was this, a lady that she said this: "I can't believe that you guys made this just for us. Thank you. It actually makes me want to do something better for myself." And that was like, wow, this is what it's about. And I don't know if you have any questions, you can ask them afterwards, but I just wanted to share a couple other things. We're also working with William Jessup's nursing program, which is really amazing. This just started exactly the same time the shower opened up. Every Friday, 4 student nurses are on site helping our neighbors, the unhoused especially, with their health needs. They're getting their community health certification, which is pretty awesome. So we just want to say thank you so very much for believing in us, believing in the work that we do, enough to collaborate with us as we love our neighbors right where they're at. And we couldn't do it without you. And I believe this is a good work in progress, and we can't wait to see more that we can do. So if you have any questions, I'd love to be able to answer them or just let's move on.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thanks to you. And I think this is a really beautiful example of what can happen when we partner together, when the city elected officials, staff partners with the community.
Amen.
I mean, you and I've had this conversation before in one of these meetings that, you do the work and you've
Yeah.
been doing it. And I commend you and I bless you for that and your volunteers
Amen.
and your church. And I've counted a privilege that we have the opportunity to say, look, we've been given some resources and we're going to pass it on to you in cooperation with what we've been doing through our other volunteers, with our homeless pilot program and everything else
Yes.
that we've done. And I look back on what we've all accomplished the last few years, and it's just amazing. But you have been in the trenches for so long, and your new facility is beautiful. I want to come take a shower in it. It's so nice, but yeah, but thank you, Eric, for everything. And I look forward to continuing this partnership with you so that we can help more people. And what you just said about that person said, it makes me want to do more for myself. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. Amen.
So thank you and bless you. And
Thank you, guys. Just one other thing, I think it's really, if we can make it, it'll be funny, if you will. About 8 years ago, we were helping a family, and the family had to leave the state, and my wife and I have taken in their children, and at the time they were young boys, and now they're older teenagers. One's a senior in high school, and lo and behold, like right as we were opening up the shower the week before, a water main broke at my house, so I was without water for about a day and a half, and this teenage boy comes to me. He's like, he's got to take 2 showers a day. I don't know why they got to take 2 showers a day. Sorry, I didn't know our water bill is like, yeah, we're paying it too. But he goes, hey, do you think I could go use the salt mine shower before anybody else uses it before I go to school? And I said, no, just let's get in, let's dig up our main, let's fix it. So we were out there till 10:30 at night fixing the water main, but he was willing to go take a shower there too, which kind of would have been fitting, but that's okay. But thanks again, guys, and thanks for the unanimous vote to put this into play. Every single one of you, I don't forget it, and I pray for you all the time. So thank you, guys.
When Pastor Eric and I talked a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
he said, hey, shower just went operational, and I want to put a video on the council meeting. I said, it's operational, and you want to.
Yeah.
I was a little worried about it, but he
It
told
is
me
very
it'd be
safe.
cheap.
And I will say, every
G-rated.
time that I've gone in there to just check it out and just like make sure everything's going okay, it's been in use. So it is being used from the time we opened. It's Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 11. And the reason it's only that we leave ourselves an hour for sanitizing afterwards each day. So it takes a lot of work. It's grunt work. The volunteers are amazing that we have at the salt mine. So But again, thank you guys for allowing me to share, and thank you again. I'm just excited about what more we can do as we collaborate
Right.
with each other.
Did you want to say something, Paul?
No, I think it's all been covered. It actually just, what I'm thinking at the moment, given what almost certainly is going to be a conversation surrounding the unhoused coming up here, is this creates a great opportunity to talk about all the partnerships that the city is involved in to address the homeless issue within our community. And I'll just go ahead and toss it to Sean and Christine if they wanted.
Well, all I'm going to say is that this whole project started from just a walk that I did over to Eric, pretty new here, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come see what we do?" And I went over on a Friday, and they're very busy on Fridays, and it wasn't a hard sell or anything. He was just like, "Look, these are our facilities that we have," and I wish in the video it didn't really show the before pictures, but suffice to say that the laundry facilities were whirlpools you would pick up on OfferUp or something, and the shower facilities are not a place that I think that they're. I mean, it would be difficult to clean yourself, I think, in some of those spaces.
It's
And so-
embarrassing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things that, like, at least from my seat, is really easy because there's a need, and there's a partner that understands what Lincoln needs and how to provide that service in a way that, we, agree with. And I'm just super proud that it ended up working out. And I know it's tough to do, so I just appreciate it. And then also, just so the community knows, Lincoln has, Christine primarily and I have worked on a pilot program that is starting to become really successful in dealing with our unhoused that the city has run. And Eric serves those same individuals. And so that partnership really wouldn't work if they didn't have a place to go to. They get mail, they get food, they get help of a variety of types. And, he's not out there advertising it. He just does the work. And so that's what it's about. I don't know if you want to add, Christine.
Sure, I don't have a lot to add other than to say Pastor Eric's one of the first residents that I met when I moved here in early 2018 and started working for the city. And then shortly thereafter took over chairing the homeless task force and kind of restructured it. And he was a very critical individual to have input and say on what was working and what wasn't working. And we've worked very closely since then. And I certainly appreciate your guidance and your experience in this community. And I think your church, your congregation, and the homeless and everyone in this community is very fortunate to have you here working with us. So thank you.
Wow. That means a lot. It's a blessing. So,
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Eric.
Next item on the agenda is Economic Development Committee Annual Report. Joanne Hilton, the chair, will present it.
Thank you. It's an honor to follow the salt of the earth, Eric, and all you do. And Rotary and I will be there on Saturday morning to help volunteer. It's amazing what they do. For those who don't know, the Economic Development Committee is comprised of two councilmen, council members, I should say. They're non-voting. We have 9 really awesome, dynamic volunteer members of the committee. We have a city manager, and we have our amazing economic development manager, Aaron Fry, which leads me to the most significant accomplishment this year for economic development, and that is the hiring of Aaron Fry. Bringing her to our city staff is brilliant. Someone with a clarity of purpose, a high energy, a can-do attitude, and an amazing creativity. We're delighted to have her helping us, guiding us, giving us ideas, and pushing. Thank you to the council for finally, I've been nagging you for 4 years, finally getting us the funding and hiring the right person.
Just because you said so, Joanne. We
Thank
did,
you.
yes.
So on to our accomplishments. You have a whole list of them. I want to hit just a few highlights. First of all, hiring Aaron, if I said that. Parking, we've done some signage improvements, low-hanging fruit, just to get some people knowing that we do have free parking in our city. Some of those are up, some of them are about to be going up, and that will help. We've added them to the Google Maps so that people know we do have free parking. We've done a few little extra things, and we're also looking at possibly maybe getting another lot on city property or not, and that would be wonderful. We helped with the grant application for the downtown planning process that's going to be done primarily with zoning, et cetera, with the Opticos consultants and with our Christian and his staff. We'll be helping along with that, providing insight from some of the people in our committee that are very experienced in that. We've also done a spotlight on business owners. We've been having a series of business owners. Priscilla Clinton is coming tomorrow to our meeting. She's the new owner of Solis. Getting their feedback on what we're doing right and what we could do better, and also just hearing more about how they're doing business in Lincoln and how we can help them. This may help with business retention, which is another one of our things that we've really focused on to help continue how our businesses grow. We have the airport, 84 acres, that is adjacent to the airport, and that is a shovel-ready and is now in a marketing package ready to be marketed. We've partnered with Aaron and others with Greater Sac, and we're looking to have some real interest in developing that and getting some new businesses. Another exciting thing is the Carnegie Library, where we have a reuse project, and we've got a feasibility study going to see whether we can turn that into a cultural arts center, which would help with bringing visitors to our downtown and adding to the ambiance. Through our committee, we had gotten the hotel relaxation of the tax, TOT tax for 50, and therefore we have a new hotel, which I understand will maybe make it before the end of the year opening. We hope so, which would be a great advantage for us because right now I'm told by Placer Valley Tourism that existing 24 hotels have 90% occupancy on weekends. So we definitely need more hotels, and especially we need them in Lincoln. Branding, we have a whole new program for marketing our city. We have a new website in the process, thanks to Aaron, and information that's been coming through our committee and approval. And it's a very exciting time to have all of marketing process, social media, et cetera, happening and being refreshed. Another thing that we've done is every single member of our committee is now a member of a subcommittee. So instead of us just coming for an hour every month, we're now meeting as subcommittees and focusing on particular areas. Therefore, we're getting more done. And I've been following this committee for about 12 years, I guess, either on it or off it. And I think we're doing more now than we've ever done before. And I'm really proud that we have such important people, really hard working on doing this, the things. And by the way, we've been trying to very closely follow the action plan that was approved for the 5 years, 2023 to 28. We feel like we're working on 34 of the 64 items in the first year, either completed or in the process. We want to add a couple little things to our list, and helping with the zoning is a very important thing. We'd also like to help partner with the school district on some robotics for agriculture. That's one area we found that we could increase some of our business growth in that area. And of course, the Carnegie. And then we would like to, regarding infrastructure, we feel it's important that we support the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency's proposal for sales tax increase. It's really important for attracting new business to our area. So I think that's it on terms of the action plan. I'd like to answer any questions if I can.
I think Holly and I are tracking pretty well, given that we're on the committee, so.
No, I don't have any questions. I really appreciate the report. Sounds like you guys are gangbusters.
Thank you.
What else can I say?
Well, I don't know.
Bill, is there any ask of us?
There's no ask.
That's
Don't
nice.
fire Erin.
Don't fight her.
Okay,
Not
Even
only
if
we're
she
not gonna
hides under
fire
a
her,
desk.
We're making her stay.
Anything else?
maybe we'll open it to the public if they have any questions about economic development. Subject we don't highlight very often, but it's very important. Saying none, online. No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ryan. Great report. Appreciate it.
Okay. You said you wanted to do 8F before public comment?
No. When you discuss consent,
You want to pull it?
yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be voted on separately. I just want to clarify.
Okay. So next item we go to is public comment. That's time for the public to give their thoughts and to comment on any item within our purview, which means we're responsible for. And you have 3 minutes to do it. So I have 2 cards already filled out. It's very helpful for us if you fill out a card, because although it's not required, it does make the minutes easier. So thank you. First person is Luis Ortiz.
I'm here regarding the atrocity that's going on at McBean Park by the Cordova roof tiles being removed from all the buildings at the park. I want to know who gave that authorization. That roof tile is iconic to Atlantic McBean. And for that atrocity be happening here, historical area being destroyed, I want to know who, because somebody's making money on that. They're putting asphalt shingles they were taking off at Cordova roof tile. One piece of Cordova roof tile, old, is worth $8. $8. So I figured out. Anyway, we're a 20 by 30 piece, 20 feet by 30 feet. That's 600 square feet. A square is 10 by 10. Anyway, what that contractor is making off that Cordova, that's the ones that are good. He's making $10,800. It's costing him to put asphalt shingles, just the material, $2,400 on that. So I don't know who authorized that. I've been here for 74 years. That Cordova tile will last 100 years or more. And that asphalt shingles, what they put on there is maybe 25 years. How do I know all this? I was in construction. So I'm not just blowing smoke here. So.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments.
I'm done.
Oh, you got 50 seconds.
The other thing is the speeding that's continuing on 193
Oh.
D Street and 5th Street. Still continuing. After the meeting, there were 3 officers were there, went 2 cars, 1 on a motorcycle. That was on a Wednesday. Thursday, they brought in speed monitoring like that. I was there monitoring cars. Over 50% of the cars were going over the speed limit, and still nothing is being done. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hit, and the blood will be on your hands. On your hands. You know that? So until something's done, because there are a lot of kids there, a lot of kids, and nothing's being done, and that's a shame.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I ask what building he's talking about with the tile?
He's talking about the pavilion and gun range
The gun range.
project, which I'll have Scott with Public Works, I think we have it on his speaker card, reach out to him because there's quite a few complexities to that project that we should talk through. It will take a lot more than 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And I assume that we're doing a speed study, which is why the
Yep.
equipment was there. Thank you. Next card I have is Keith Estes.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and City Council members, I'm Keith Estes. I'm Chairman of the Board of the Gathering Inn, and I'm here to make just a few brief comments. First, I want to reinforce what we publicly, as well as to you privately. The Gathering Inn is committed to working with the city to develop an agreement that addresses your concerns about our new medical facility. Holly, you and I recently had a good conversation about the program. Together, we identified several action items to address the city's concerns. I recommend that the Gathering Inn and the city continue a respectful dialogue. We all want the same thing: preserve the health, safety, and character of the community, and in particular, the health and safety of the immediate neighborhood where families live, businesses thrive, and children walk to school. Today, we also met this afternoon with the board president and superintendent of the Western Placer Unified School District. We had a good conversation about also working on those same goals. Second, I want to make sure that the people in this room or watching this meeting are clear about the Gathering Inn's plans. Our medical respite program provides a place for unhoused people, mostly senior citizens, to recuperate from serious illnesses or surgery under medical supervision. Our guests are medically frail adults, much like the previous residents of the building, which was an assisted living facility. The difference is that a medical respite program does not allow visitors or guests to come and go. They stay inside to rest, heal, and receive support to help them move to sustainable housing when they are well enough to do so. Third, I want to reinforce that this is not a shelter. It is not a drop-in center, a detox facility, a substance abuse clinic. It is a secured building that will be quiet, clean, and well-lit. In closing, I want to say again, the Gathering Inn is committed to working with the city to develop a path forward. And once we have come to an agreement, the Gathering Inn will host a community meeting to listen to public concerns, answer questions, and provide accurate information about the program. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. No.
Isn't this an,
Hmm?
It's kind of an agenda item.
yeah, this is an agenda item. I'm not sure why the public comment was now, but I guess.
What he presented wasn't.
No,
I have a lot to say. So, yeah, we all have a lot of questions.
No, he did.
No, nobody's trying
Skip. Oh,
It's just a matter of where it belongs.
right. Right. No, and you don't do that in public comment. So, no questions. Because it was a public comment, not an agenda item. Okay.
That's really important to understand. Council cannot, as it is not.
It's gonna be.
Do we have an opening here to discuss?
Well, I think you have an opening to discuss it when we get to the item
When
that's
you
on the
get, yeah,
agenda.
we have
And
the ability to talk about the item,
Correct.
which is,
The legislative subpoena.
right,
And Mr. Estes, my advice to you would be to stick around and talk with these folks and answer their questions. Thank you. After the meeting.
any other public comment?
We do have a hand raised, Mayor,
Got one. You have one online?
online. Fran, please go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to tell you that the Ollie program with Sierra College started at the library. So Monday, there were 35 people looking for parking spaces. I drove by, so I went home and had somebody drop me off. And then there was no place to park, you know. All the workers are parking there. The bins take up 30 spaces. You know, I did get a ride home. The person who gave me a ride home had to park way over by the student parking. The gate between the student parking and the left-hand side of the library or the school office parking, that gate is closed, so cars can't go through there. And I can understand why you don't want cars going through there, but there just must be something that can be done. Maybe the workers can make themselves a place to park in the dirt or something, but the road going into the west side of the parking to the library, all the cars are parked in the street on both sides of the curb. You know, it's a good thing it's not painted red. Anyway, it's a real problem. Like I said, these 35 people trying to find a place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to go to a class. And then on top of that, they had story time. So the parents coming in for the story time had to find a place to park. So I just think you need to be aware that you finding a place for those cardboard bins is really important to us, having a place to park. I don't know where you expect people to park over there. There's just no place to park. Okay. That's what I wanted to say tonight. And the other thing, I guess, is Oak Tree Lane 193. I hope you've driven down there and just to see all the stuff that's going on over there. It's really pretty amazing. I had no idea all that would be done to, you know, put in those signal lights. So I thank you for that. And our poetry club goes to the salt mine once a month. And we've seen that shower and washing area, and that is really wonderful. And we've taken toiletries in there too. People can donate toiletries to them. And Mike and his wife Susan and all the volunteers that are there and all the nonprofits that help on Saturdays, you know, all of us working together. And I can't see the 3-minute clock, so I don't know if my time's up. But thank you.
Thanks, Fran.
Please do something about the parking.
Didn't you address that last time? Can you remind Fran when we're doing that cardboard box recycle?
Yeah, so Fran, hi Fran. We're doing, last meeting the council approved a whole new recycling center that's off the library parking grounds. It's a pretty big effort. And so I won't give you an exact timeline, but that project is going to bid and sometime within the next, let's call it, what do you think, Vince, 6 to 9 months? Yeah, but how long do we think construction? 2 months? Okay, so Fran, by the first quarter of 2025, you may be, all the parking in the library will be just library parking. Yeah, Fran, maybe we'll look at, we may name the new recycling facility after you.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay. Yes. That one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, Byron Chapman over by the 12 Bridges area. Just a quick caveat, if I will, kind of backing up a little bit on the, I'm really pleased to see the National Dog Month. I myself have been around disabled people with these animals for 30-something years. A couple of things I want you to know about them is the time and energy and effort is spent. The number of people that just touch one is countless. How people can take that puppy and raise it to a point where they can pass it off to someone else, it's got to be heartbreaking. I've talked to these people and it's incredible. But what I like to share with people is that just in the amount to train the dog is a little over $50,000 per dog. And those that receive these animals, they get those with no cost attached. However, it isn't just the dog that gets trained. The person that receives the dog also has to go through training in order to make sure that this is going to work. So they literally, each person has to spend a minimum of 2 weeks and sometimes a month learning about 30 different commands. So that's really incredible. And the one thing I want everyone to hear, because it's so important, all of those dogs are so well groomed, they're taken care of. Particularly if you see that dog and it has a cape on it. If it's out in public, you want to pet it, ask the person that's there, because I want you to think of the dog not as a pet. Right now, it's working. So, for example, if you're a person who is blind and you lean over and start to pet that dog, hopefully that dog will ignore you. However, at that moment in time, that dog may or may not stop that person from doing what it's supposed to do, and someone could get hurt. So they're not a dog first, they're a worker. You can ask the person, and if they say, by all means, please do so. But just keep in mind that they're great, they're wonderful, but they're a working dog, and that helps everybody. So it was just a caveat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other member of the public wishing to make comment? Nobody online? I'll close public comment. Go to the consent calendar. There's been one item pulled for clarification, 8E.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I misspoke. 8D as in dog.
D is in dog.
Yeah.
Good. It's
Okay.
the right month.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out, this is a request to move forward with an application on the Healthy Cities Grant, requesting an award of $30,000 to $40,000 for a workout installation. Looks like it's probably going to go in Foskett Park. And the reason why I wanted to pull it, just in case council wanted to ask any questions, was to highlight what we anticipate we will get the grant, and then we'll talk about how we're going to allocate dollars for the remainder of the project. But if you don't know what it is, they have a very similar kind of installation at Maidu Park in Roseville, and it's essentially a circuit sort of permanent workout equipment that would be very difficult to tamper with for folks. And there's a lot of folks in Foskett that work out every morning. In fact, I think there's a group that meets there every morning of gentlemen that work out. Anyway, what I wanted to bring up was, I think he's here. Oh, there you are. Eric Johnson, he's a longstanding planning commissioner that served on our planning commission for a number of years, brought this idea up to myself and Doug in recreation as a neat idea, found this funding, kind of worked through the idea with us. Him and Doug worked on the report that you're reading in your agenda this evening. And it's just not every day that a community member or a planning commissioner goes to the extra extent of actually getting out there and really finding funding to do a project like this. So I just think it needs to be recognized, and we sure hope we get it. And if we do, we'll find appropriate dollars to match it to get the project installed.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody want to pull anything? Okay, I'll accept the motion on the calendar. The public wish to pull anything?
There's nobody online, Mayor.
Okay.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskent.
Yes. Next item is placeholder for public hearings. We have none. General business 10 on the standard agenda. 10A, adopt resolution 2024-186, authorizing the transfer of funds from 12 Bridges Assessment District Fund 8650 to PCWA Water Connection Charge Fund 2250 for the repayment of the 12 Bridges pressure reducing and metering station.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And this is in our continuing saga of cleaning up the long outstanding bond repayments. So staff continues to diligently research these projects to determine how they were paid for and how they should have been paid for. Just as a quick reminder, the bond funds were taken out for the 12 Bridges Assessment District. The projects were completed appropriately. However, at the time the projects were completed, the city didn't pay itself back appropriately from one fund to the other fund. So that's what this item before you is, another in that long line of cleaning up and transferring the money to pay back the fund that actually paid for the project when the project should have been paid for bond funds. I feel like I'm talking in circles sometimes. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the community? Online? Any discussion? No discussion by the council?
Very straightforward.
I move approve to adopt the resolution 2024-186.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskint.
Yes. Passed unanimously. Item 10B, adopt resolution 2024-187, approving the revised schedule range for the classification of engineering manager, to be presented by Veronica Rodriguez, our HR person.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. The item before you this evening, it's a request for a revision to the salary band for the engineering manager classification. This requested increase is from the maximum annual salary of $147,609 to $161,508. That's $147,609. The increase in the salary band for this classification will alleviate the salary compaction that exists between this classification and the senior engineer classification, which is currently at 3.1% between the two classes. The other issue that this alleviates is the recruitment issues that we potentially could be faced with because the salary was way below market. So increasing this band will bring it to market, help us with recruiting the one vacancy that does exist. There's 2 engineering manager positions within the city. One is vacant. So the request is to assist with the recruitment as well as to retain existing staff. The cost for this change for the remainder of the 24-25 fiscal year is $13,988, and this amount can be absorbed within the existing budget as a result of salary savings. That concludes my presentation, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
No questions. Thanks for working on this.
Thank you.
One quick question. That $13,000 is the worst case, correct?
Well, we do have one existing individual in the
Oh, that's right.
classification.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Online, no? No
Approval of the
discussion?
item.
Pardon me?
Move approval of the item.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Mayor Carlskint.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is 10C. Adopt resolution 2024-188, authorizing the legislative subpoena regarding acquisition of the 1660 3rd Street by the Gathering Inn. Ms. Mollenko.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. What is before you tonight is a resolution to issue a subpoena for records related to an investigation into the Gathering Inn's acquisition of property located at 1660 3rd Street in Lincoln, California. This is done pursuant to the authority of the city council vested in them by the state pursuant to Government Code Section 37104. The facts, as staff believes and understands them today, are set forth in the whereas clauses of the resolution, articulating the factual background that we believe supports the basis for the requested documents. If council determines that the recitals are in fact true and accurate and adopts the resolution directs the mayor to execute the accompanying subpoena. The subpoena would then be issued by my office to the executive, or the Keith Diederich, the CEO, who is also the agent for service of process for the gathering in, and also the person most knowledgeable at the California Department of Social Services Community Care Extension Program. And the subpoena specifically articulates, oh gosh, I don't know, almost 50 different documents or categories of documents when you count all of the subsections that are being requested pursuant to the subpoena. The date set forth for the production of those records is at the next city council meeting in September of this year, unless other arrangements are organized and agreed to upon. Failure to respond to this subpoena adequately carries with it the legislative power to go before the court system and make a finding of contempt and require disclosure pursuant to those means, as articulated in the government code statute. So with that, I will afford council the opportunity to discuss the item and make a decision on the resolution. And I'm here for
Okay,
questions.
are there any questions?
We've
Okay.
discussed this among ourselves in closed session. I'd really like to hear from the public before we
Yeah,
go further.
Then we can come
okay,
back. to ourselves.
I plan on doing that. But
I'll wait.
the item before us is the actual issuance, asking to issue a subpoena so that we can see some documents that we have been unable to get. And so that's the confines of our discussion.
Well, I think, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think
Paul.
we can be a little, no, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
In part because of what I said up front when they were in the public comment section, I think we can go a little broader than that.
I think the whereas clauses contained within the resolution are broad enough and cover a very significant fact pattern so that the extent the public wishes to comment on those or provide their insight,
Absolutely.
I think certainly that would be
Right,
acceptable.
Perfect, thank you.
but items that aren't in the whereas clauses or the resolution are the only items under discussion.
I guess what I'm going to say is I don't know that we're going to look through all 50 items and try to match them up to comments people are going to make. So very broadly, if they have comments, I want to hear them.
I want to hear that.
So, correct. And I think, Mayor, to maybe your point, maybe what you're trying to get to is, as part of my report out from closed session, I obviously stated that I had been given direction to file litigation. We will not be sharing any more information about that activity until and unless those documents are finalized, filed with the court, and then we will make them available to the public. So to the
That's- I
extent the
don't
comment
wanna
is limited, correct,
right.
to this resolution and
Okay.
subpoena.
So if we have no questions, we'll see if people in the audience do.
Go ahead.
Mayor,
Yes,
Hi, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I felt very passionately after hearing somebody else speak prior to me. As a mom, and I realize that I don't know if this falls in line with the agenda, but as previously stated, the purpose of this facility is not as it's portrayed on the grant application, which I feel like that's part of our subpoena records. It clearly states that it's for drug and substance abuse recovery unit, as well as mental health. I have a child that goes to school 400 yards away. He walks to his grandma's house. I feel unsafe, and I feel like we need to further address that the proximity to that school and First Street Elementary, which there is a transit stop right in front of that school, needs to be addressed. And I hope that we take a closer look at that when we look through the records.
thank you.
Mayor, you did have some speaker cards up there too.
Oh, yeah, I do. Thank you.
I'm speaking for me and someone else who couldn't be here. We are adamant that that gathering in is the wrong place for the wrong town. Lincoln's has been a nice, small, quiet town. And one thing you need to consider is there's no places for those people to work at whenever they get out of there. And we don't want that in Lincoln.
Thank you. David Kahn.
I don't know if he heard you. David?
Hi, Mayor, Council. It's kind of cool seeing your faces from Saturday morning. I live 2 blocks from the proposed facility. We walk our dogs past there. Our daughter's going to be attending GEMS middle school here next year. And I'm not the most eloquent speaker. I'll leave that to her. She's a good speaker, but I'm really concerned. My wife and I took a trip after the last council meeting to Auburn, to one of the facilities there. And I was just speaking to Mr. Estes, I'm not sure which facility it was, but it's in the campus. And what we were told earlier about this facility in Lincoln was that it's going to be no loitering, no visitors in or out, all of this kind of stuff. But when we were up in Auburn, there were parked cars right in the parking lot of the facility, doors open, people sitting half in, half out, people laying down in some cars, music playing, people staring at their phones, doing whatever. It's a little grassy area, parked right across from the parking area, people laying out, piles of stuff next to them. And not just like mom, dad, and young daughter chasing bubbles or, throwing the Frisbee around. These are people with nowhere else to go, just waiting for something. Not to mention the sweet smell of cannabis wafting gently through the breeze up in Auburn, which was ever present when we were there. We also took a trip to the Roseville facility, and again, gate wide open. We sat there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, people waltzing in and out, people sitting on the sidewalk. I have a call log for the Roseville Police for the last several months to that specific location on Berkeley. Trespassing, burglary, theft, public intoxication, and the big one, the big R, rape. Now, I just turned around, I was speaking to Mr. S, asking if it was the same kind of facility as those. He wasn't able to answer because they have a couple different locations and facilities in Auburn, so it was not fair to him to say that he's not being truthful. I don't know that. Regardless, I'm kind of emotional about this, as you might be able to tell. It's difficult for me because I want the best for everybody, all people. And so when I weigh all this and I put it through the sifter, I want the best for everyone, whether they have a roof over their head or they don't. It sucks, man. It's got to suck to not have a place to go, right? But when you boil it down, it goes through the sifter and you get down to the bottom, this isn't the place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Please, Stephanie.
Do you have more cards?
Hmm?
Do you have more cards?
No, he's already spoke.
Hi, I really didn't intend on speaking, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Lincoln High School, but I am a coach at Lincoln High School. My athletes are they're all female. We typically are the last to practice at Lincoln High School. My athletes leave about 8:30, 9 o'clock, sometimes 9:30 at night. We do practice through the winter and the spring. I am a spring coach athlete. It has always been that I could feel free to leave my athletes for 5 minutes to wait for their parents. I have heavy concerns about an open campus at night where I have gates open on my campus and there's coverage that I no longer will be able to leave my athletes to wait for their parents at night. It hasn't been a legality as far as being a coach that we have to remain on campus to make sure that our students are home safe.
It is a little bit of a concern moving forward that if this does go forward, I will never feel safe leaving my athletes to stand on campus and wait for a parent to arrive. With that being said, I also live on D and First Street. I live between the creek and I live between McBean Park. So I see a lot of our own homeless people passing back and forth between the creek and McBean Park. I have had homeless people actually take a crap in my side yard. I take up the whole corner of D and First on the opposite side of First, adjacent from Burger King. So I've had a lot of interactions with the homeless, some of them very pleasant. I've had them walk into my driveway and approach my teenage daughter and her boyfriend and try to get into their vehicles. Now, this is just our local homeless. I am a little concerned about what will come as we bring a larger facility into our community. My husband works in Sacramento. He lives or works 5 minutes from Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. Between his work and the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is a church that allows handouts once a week and once a month provides medical services to the homeless. I think it's a great cause. However, the homeless stay at the church 7 days a week, 31 days of the month. I have seen people defecate in public. I have seen them walk around topless. I have seen them actually strip down and change out of their clothing to the next day's clothing. A lot of that comes with a lot of things, and it's not to dishearten the homeless. I think that there is a lot of things that we could do to help them with grant money that we're not using. Mental health care is a huge issue from our children to the homeless population, and it needs to be addressed. I just am very fearful. I've lived in this community for almost 10 years. I love this community. We moved here because I grew up in a small town in Idaho. I wanted my kids to have the replicate of what I grew up in. It is very quickly falling away, and I just want you to know that we care.
Thank you. I have a card, another card, Reverend Nelson.
Yes, Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Reverend Virgil Nelson. I'm a retired pastor, currently a member of Shepherd of Sierra Presbyterian Church in Loomis. Our congregation was instrumental in the founding of TGI, and we have hosted the TGI Nomadic Shelter in our sanctuary up to 7 times a month since it began 20 years ago. That's 50 to 80 people sleeping on the floor in our sanctuary. We prepare a meal for them at the night and send them out in the morning with a breakfast. I'm here to vouch for the integrity of the programs of TGI throughout our community. How many of us here tonight have ever been in the hospital? Raise your hand. In the hospital. How many have ever been in the hospital? Think back on what it would have been like for you to face leaving the hospital with no place to go. What choices would you have? Most of us have been blessed with a home, with family, enough financial resources to make the transition. But what about those people who don't? Did you know that over 20 residents of Lincoln have benefited from TGI's mobile respite program? Last year, however, there were over 200 people who were turned away because of a lack of beds. Questions that I heard at Saturday's march. Can TGI be trusted? Can it be trusted with respect to the definition and management of the program? For example, will it truly be a locked facility? Will there be no one entering and going? No visitors? Will patients really be prohibited from leaving and walking around the neighborhood? The answer is yes. And you can talk to the neighbors of the existing facility that TGI manages for the same program. Does TGI respond to the neighbors? Yes. I personally was involved in the transition between the management for the mobile temporary shelter of 50 beds in Auburn. TGI responded immediately in setting up meetings with the neighbors In the beginning, there were over 100 people who showed up. Last month, there were 4 people who came, and that shows the effectiveness of the communication process in keeping the program going. Many feel that the city of Lincoln should have the right to control all of the programs that come into the community,
Thank you.
and there's a lot of anger at the state.
Thank you. Gentlemen, walking up.
Mayor, Councilman, I would say this is the wrong thing for that location. How many schools? It's right across from. You need to follow through with the resolution. Thank you.
Any other resident, please come up.
Mayor, council members, staff. I'm Danelle Collins, a resident in Lincoln. A nervous resident in Lincoln. My question is how something like this can happen without any studies. I purchased 20 acres in Lincoln about 8 years ago. And the amount of studies that we had to pay for and go through to subdivide the piece of property into 2 parcels that would simply allow for 2 residential homes to be built was astronomical. The state of California required us to study the impact that building 2 houses on 650,000 square feet of land, how it would impact the wildlife, the grasses, I mean, every square inch we had to pay a biologist to study the impact of, showing that Placer County and California have great concern over the impact of things in our area. We had to perform a cultural study to study the impact of those that were here before, and if they may walk on this property, if we're disturbing them, and thousands of dollars and several years of our time was spent to do a simple residential housing project. And if the Gathering Inn was wanting to come to our city and worked with Placer County or got permission from Placer County, or the city of Lincoln knew of the project, I don't know why there wouldn't be similar impact studies that would give us the decision of whether or not this is something that belongs in our community. It seems silly that this could just be like above everyone's head and placed here without any input or this equal, or if not greater, impact studies of how it will affect the residents in this community.
Thank you. Thank you. The other people in the auditorium.
I am not good at public speaking, so this is going to be really hard to get out, but we're short on ambulances already for getting people help that are in critical care because they're being wasted on patients that don't have a ride to leave a facility, and that if they show up, they are guaranteed a ride. And it's wasting our ambulances that could be helping people in more critical care. And on top of that, it doesn't belong next to an elementary school. That I don't feel safe for my kid to go to school, that I'm gonna have to move. This is not an option at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Shad Pulley. I live out near Turkey Creek Golf Course. My wife and I first moved to Lincoln back in 2000. Always valued the quality of life that we have here. And it's been a great place to raise a family. I have to agree with many of the other people that have already spoken that this is just the wrong location for this type of facility. Really very ill-conceived. And my other thought is when we talk about partnership between the city and the citizens and such facilities and community organizations, I think of the salt mine as an example. The approach, the communication, the interaction, and the feedback. Excellent example of what we can achieve jointly. This is not that type of project. This has not been approached the right way. This is a blind side to the city and to the citizens. And quite frankly, without regard for how that impacts our children, our police services. I understand the type of individuals that we're talking about that would use these facilities. I understand that there is a need for it in the overall community. This is the wrong location. But since this facility has already been purchased, they thought they would just bum rush the project and say it's already purchased and here we are. I don't buy that. I understand they actually own the property, but this is the wrong way to do this. I don't believe that our state legislature would allocate funds or state agencies such as DGS to ram this down a community's throat the way this is being done. And it upsets me because I do understand there is a need for it. And I do understand we have homeless right here in Lincoln and throughout Placer County. But this is about as disrespectful to the city of Lincoln and the citizens here as you can possibly be. And I'm sorely disappointed in our county supervisor, Shanty Landon. Just unbelievable. This is not looking out for her constituency. And furthermore, I think if you want to build a partnership, it starts with communication. They have failed from step one. Thank you.
Any other people in the audience?
I'm here for another reason, but because of this, and I live close by, I agree with everyone that is against it. And if this gentleman says it works out in Loomis, then they need to move it to Loomis.
Any other questions?
Hello. I'm a little nervous because I wasn't intending to speak, but I have two questions. First, someone informed me that the Gathering Inn has a history of withholding information from the city of Lincoln. I think it would be nice to have some clarification on what that history is, how that might pertain to the subpoena. And secondly, I heard that the justification for withholding information in this instance was fear for the safety of the employees and the potential for pushback from local residents. And I would ask why, with that in mind, a different location wasn't selected. And that's all.
Thank you. Go to online.
Mayor, we do have a number of people online. If anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand. Nobody's raising their hands.
No.
No, no
No?
one's
Okay.
raising their hand, Mayor.
Okay, I will bring it back to the council for discussions. Close public comment. Anybody have any comment?
Yeah, well, I'll have something to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with a lot of things that were said today, and as far as the subpoena goes, it is atrocious to me that documents would be withheld, for the purpose of coming in to Lincoln. I mean, if they were what they were supposed to be, it would be pretty easy process to say, well, here, look, this is what we have, and be collaborative about it and not secretive about it and withholding the documents that we're requesting. And thanks, that's about it.
Well, I'll follow up on that, because when we first found out about this, we did meet with Mr. Diederich and some of his staff members and our staff members and the mayor and I. And at the end of that meeting, he said, I'd be happy to give you all the documents. And then he promptly went out and refused to give us those documents. So we've been fighting for every scrap that we have. We do have the grant application, but there's a lot of supporting documents that we don't have yet. So that's, a lie in the long string of lies. And as I told Mr. Estes, as I did speak with him, that when you start from a place of deception, there's really nowhere to go. And it's really disappointing. And so if I keep hearing, we want to be good neighbors, we want to work with you, but the time for that would have been before, not after they closed escrow. So that'll all get dealt with. This has to do with, the subpoena for the documents. And as Councilmember Brown said, why withhold them? And they said they would give them to us, and they didn't. So again, that's not going very well to instill confidence in us. So I'm completely supportive of this, and I'll be voting yes on this.
Yeah, just very briefly, it's clear the direction that we're heading in with all of this is very likely litigation. And so I'm going to start practicing hard for me to practice that, apparently. Start practicing limiting what we say that could be used at future proceedings. But I did notice one thing tonight. So the gathering in, as they went about this, did so from my perspective in secrecy. They specifically asked Supervisor Landon not to share her knowledge of this project with the city of Lincoln. That process of secrecy continued, and the question about what's happened in the past, to my knowledge, the Gathering Inn has purchased 7 homes in communities, one of them in our own, and kept that secret from us, from the city of Lincoln. It had to be found out through events at that particular house. And so the pattern continues. And I would even say that the pattern of not understanding the absolute necessity of involving the community in this conversation continues tonight. Mr. Estes said, if we can come to an agreement, meaning the city, then we'll reach out to the public. That's backwards. If we even get to a point where we are discussing the possibility of a negotiated agreement, the public has to be in on that. It cannot be done outside the public eye. So I am absolutely going to support this action tonight. Frankly, it feels as though it's been forced upon us. There was another way to go about this and simply provide all the documentation. To my understanding, neither the Gathering Inn nor their attorney has been forthcoming on that. And so I don't think we have any choice but to go this path.
I will add really quickly that I appreciate the pastor's comments, and I know that they do house them and feed them and let them sleep in the church, and I appreciate that very much. But to solidify what we've been saying here, everything that Mr. Estes told me, Mr. Diederich told us, anything that they say about the nature of this program is actually in direct opposite of what the application actually says. And so when you look at what it says, what they actually filed with the state, and then what they're telling us, it's really hard to reconcile that, so. So,
We can't go anywhere without the information and the data that we're requesting in the subpoena. I agree with Vice Mayor Hawley in the initial meeting we had after we found out that you had embarked on this and bought the building and were measuring for carpet, draperies and everything else. That meeting, we were told that we would get the information, get all of this that we're now asking in the subpoena, we would get it. They were happy to provide it. Okay, that's speaking in bad faith if you never intend to do it. And it doesn't talk about a very efficient organization. If you are still intending to do it, you can't bundle up 30 pages of paper. So this needs to be done. It's the first step in a lot of steps to get anything done. And so to me, it's logical. It doesn't even need any discussion. Okay.
so I move that we adopt resolution, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh, Bill, I
I'm sorry.
apologize. I apologize,
Well,
Bill. I apologize.
Yeah.
No,
But anyhow, anyway, you know, I don't want to see this in downtown Lincoln. It's not a good idea to have a homeless facility like this in downtown Lincoln. But I do have a question that's probably for Mr. Estes and Mr. Dietrich, is whatever happened to the Campus of Hope? That was supposed to be in an industrial area, separated by railroad tracks, open space, a creek, and light industry from anybody's borders. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, you know, you took, I mean, Keith Dietrich took us to it, showed us this facility, where he wanted it. What happened?
well, I can answer that.
Oh, go right ahead.
We spent about 2 years in a regional homeless task force with elected officials, with law enforcement, with county health and human services, with city attorneys, a whole group of people. And we came to the conclusion that that wasn't a viable solution for the jurisdictions. Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland, surrounding areas wanted to tailor their responses for what suits them. What works for Roseville does not work for Lincoln. What works for Lincoln does not work for Rockland. And we've proven that with what we are doing here, that we've had great success. The idea on their rendering looks really beautiful, but when you really drill down to what it would look like, what would happen in that area, it was not a sustainable program. And maybe Mr. Councilmember Joyner can add to that, but the jurisdictions basically said, that's not what we want. The people said, that's not what we want. And the funding issue was a real problem too. They could build it, and then how's it going to be funded? And we knew that they were going to come to the cities for that, and that we don't have that, so.
It would have been in downtown Lincoln.
Not have been in downtown.
Nope.
Exactly.
So I can simplify it much further than that.
Thank you.
The location that they'd chosen for that was owned by the county. The county could have agreed and signed a lease. They never agendized it. They never took action on it. So it's as simple as that. It just never moved forward with the county.
So
There's a lot of background to it, but
I have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I move to approve resolution 2024-188.
Mr. Brown, it's your district. Why
Yeah,
don't you?
yes, please. I will second that.
I have a motion and a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Lordson?
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskent.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-189 potentially amending the city guidelines for effective collaborative governance and final report.
Anyone who wants to speak to Mr. Estes, you might want to follow him out.
Chase after him.
Run while we can.
Yeah.
Just skates on,
Yeah.
you know.
Don't let him get away.
Sick of.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Um, the genesis of this item is, and all I wanted to talk about is items 9, 10, 11. In our current ordinance, we had a problem, an inadvertent problem a few months ago that got me thinking. The problem was that, well, let me start out with, basically, we have all agreed that as far as council and staff, we're going to praise in public and criticize in private. That was part of the agreement. Now, at the time we discussed that, I was assuming without thinking that, yeah, but I was only thinking within our staff. When comments were made about another agency's staff in a public meeting, which was a kind of a chastising, rather than, it certainly wasn't praising, and got questioned. I got to thinking about it. We all, certainly on a regional basis, work with a lot of staffs and a lot of other board members. And I got thinking, they ought to be included in this because the same thing ought to hold true in our interactions with them. So that's really what this is all about.
I think I'd slightly disagree with that in that when we have disputes with our regional partners that perhaps cannot be easily resolved, the public needs to know about it at times, and we need to be free to inform them.
Okay, so we shouldn't have this.
No.
No, because we have sometimes.
We have this internally.
Internally.
But unless you want to get, let's use Placer County as an example, unless you want them to partner in this agreement, then we would be holding ourselves to a standard that they are not following.
Right. I said, that's exactly right. Yeah. And this came up, I think, I'm sure the mayor had been thinking about it, but this came up because I made a comment about a regional organization or entity. I didn't say a person's name. I said the entity, and I made a comment about we're doing their work for them. And that offended somebody, even though I didn't name the person. I didn't call anybody out personally. That offended them. And so they complained. And I would agree with Councilmember Joyner. There are many times where supervisors or other people, they say disparaging things about us from the dais. We don't do that. Like, we are very careful with our words, but I agree. Sometimes we need to make an issue known so that the public knows what's going on, for one, but also that we can put pressure on the right places to get stuff done that we need to do and come to some kind of agreement. So I am very comfortable with our internal agreement, how we treat each other. I think we're all adults. We're very careful about the words that we say for other entities, the county and whatever. But I'm not really in favor of this. I think it's, like you said, it holds us to a standard that everybody else doesn't even think about.
It holds us to an agreement that they are not party to.
Exactly, exactly.
And so I get where you're going. Be nice when you can, but every once in a while. If you'll recall, when we hired Sean,
First of all, I don't mind
okay,
another organization, but that's me. I just, it hit me in general that we work with other staffs, other colleagues, and we don't address them in this. And
it's all circled back around to the fact that they are not a party to it. If we want to reach out and say, hey, we've got this agreement among ourselves, do you wish to participate in this in your interactions with the city of Lincoln? That's a different conversation.
that would be a good thing for me to undertake next year.
All right, get on it.
So if there's no appetite for this, that's, I'm fine. I wanted to have the discussion.
I think you've got a topic for the city-county dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, that's where I was coming from. That's why I asked it to, you know, I guess, I guess I just feel that I kind of operate this way, regardless who I'm with, what group I'm with. It wouldn't be a bad idea to codify. But if there's no appetite, fine.
Well, I think that that it was a good idea for good discussion, meaning, you know, to be more professional or different things here that you've mentioned. I think that the way that some of it is worded, you know, if we were to change some of that to make it so that it's, anyway, more what Paul and Holly have already said about it, except, yeah, I agree with being real professional and making sure to praise people because I like being positive and, you know, and if you have an issue, go to them in private. Yeah. The other couple of them I don't agree with, the 10 and 11. I think 11 could get us in trouble about talking with other council members and city staff to avoid surprises. I think that might allude to a little bit of the Brown Act.
Within the bounds of the Brown Act.
Right, yeah, exactly. So those are a few reasons that I would not be in favor of it.
Okay, so.
So can we just bypass it or do we have
Yeah.
to like take a vote and say no?
No,
No.
if there's no action.
Okay.
Right,
that
no
occurs.
action. Okay, so you don't have to go on record as being, you want to be mean all the time.
Yes.
so.
Hey, you know, I have a reputation to uphold, so what can I say?
I haven't voted.
I know.
Next item on the agenda.
Okay,
Some good things.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad that everybody ran out of the room because one of the things I wanted to just a PSA for community members, and we'll just push this out on all of our channels tomorrow because we'll have some things to report as a result of my colleague next to me's report this evening. But what I would like to just say to the community in general is if you want to know what's going on with the Gathering Inn or anything related to that issue, please, please, please call Erin Fry at the City of Lincoln. You can call our direct line. There's a variety of ways to get to her. Please do not post random comments online. Please do not send emails to people that are not part of this agency. if you want to know where the city is at and the perspective and anything that we're able to share, she is the public information officer for this community, and so that's her role. You are more than welcome to reach out to any of your 5 council members. They will also likely tell you, hey, you really should reach out to Aaron, who is up to date on things, and that's the best way to get the most accurate and up-to-date information. She will also be sending out press releases. We'll be posting things on our e-newsletter, and there, as the city attorney alluded, there will be a website with documents and updates as frequently as we're able to make them. Just because one of the things we've learned over the last couple of weeks is, as chatter has occurred online, it's really difficult for her, myself, and anyone else to get to each and every individual that may post a sub-comment on another page, assuming we're even seeing all of them, is really complex. So just a kind request that if you'd like specific detail from an authoritative source, please can reach out to her. Second issue is, I don't know if this is good news, Mayor, but it's news. The federal government has revised, the Department of Treasury, excuse me, has revised the American Recovery Plan Act guidelines for how those dollars can be spent. Well, not how they can be spent, when they must be spent by, and what that word spent means. And I'm not going to go into all the detail. Nita's poured over all of this, and we're still kind of seeking some expert opinions on how to interpret the changes in rule. But essentially what we know is that all of your ARPA dollars, including those that you claimed as a standard allowance deduction, need to be obligated by the end of this calendar year. So that accelerates what our understanding was by about 12 months, meaning that we need to get those dollars employed and into various forms of either contract or the concept of obligation is very important, and we're still working on how that's defined by Treasury. So there's some that would probably interpret it as actually being a contract for a service. There are others that say that you've appropriated the dollars for a specific thing and you know exactly how you're spending it and that you're moving actively towards that. But we're still working on that detail. What we do know is the sort of a methodical pace that Lincoln has chosen to take, which I think if you look at some of the other communities in California and how they burn through those dollars within a 6-month period, we've gotten a lot, in my opinion, we've gotten a lot more value out of them being kind of slow and methodical about how we're using them. We can't do that anymore. We need to, all of the spending plan that you approved a few months back will need to move into overdrive. And then there's a reserve of about $500,600,000 that was not set aside for any specific purpose. We were holding it in case we had some other important need. We're gonna have to employ all of that by the end of the year. So you're gonna see a lot of items this month, next month, and the following, probably up until the new council change is over, to make sure that we get all of those spent. Because I think one of the things, I don't remember which elected it was, but somebody mentioned to me that more than anything, we do not want to send even $1 back of this money. So
That might have been all of us.
Yeah.
probably. So it's not the end of the world. It means that we're gonna have to accelerate what we're doing quite a bit. And we'll probably have to look at projects that we can't reasonably obligate and scrap those and move towards things that we can do now. So so we have a pretty good idea right now, but one of the things that we learned during the first round of this when we were trying to interpret the Treasury's rules was that there's a number of different firms in California and accounting firms as well, law firms, that have made this sort of a minor practice of interpreting this and providing advice as to what they think will pass muster with the federal government.
For a small fee.
For a small fee. And so we're going to have to engage them because it's super important that we get it right. We want to make sure that we're spending the dollars as they should be spent, and that if we are audited in the future, that we'll pass with flying colors. So we're going to do all of that. So you'll see lots of things moving forward.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. As you can all imagine, it's been very difficult to get other things done the last few weeks for obvious reasons. But next Wednesday, the 17th, I think I'm right about that. Yeah. The Lincoln Senior Health Fair is taking place at the Pavilion. Chris Wyatt, Harry Garland, number of our staff worked super hard for like the last year to put this on. This is now round 2. I think it's going to be a much better event. We've learned a lot of lessons from the last one, new vendors, new speakers, and so pass around the word. You'll see signs out and about in town. So, and I have a bunch of other updates, but like I said, I think those are probably best held for the next meeting.
And along those lines as well, on Saturday, for the benefit of the public, is the safety fair that is being organized by Randy Johnson, who owns the gun shop, the Lincoln Gun Shop downtown. So it's going to be public safety, police and fire will be there, code enforcement will be there, a lot of self-defense related businesses, demonstrations, police canine demonstrations, those kinds of things. So it should be a really fun day. I think it's from 10 to 1. One of the really neat things about it is that the money that he's using in order to organize this event were dollars that he received as part of the grant application for the downtown businesses that the council authorized for use of some of these ARPA funds. So kind of a neat way for the community to come out and see how those dollars have been employed in our community.
Thanks, Christine.
Council initiated business. Anyone have it? Nope.
I would just like, not this minute, but I know you said you would, Sean. I would just like to know about the tiles being removed on the buildings at McBean, because without knowing the facts and why you had to do it, that is a little upsetting. Yeah, I'm a little upset about
Yeah,
that.
the detail that was shared is not our understanding of it at all. So we'll be happy to share with that. When we get the details. Scott Boyden can give you, this is a series of decisions that were made over a very long period of time with a lot of very specific kind of work about how we can employ the public's dollar to the best possible, value.
It's certainly taken them long enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on there. Don't be going on the next. Still want to say something. I wanted to see if we could workshop or talk about something that I've noticed and the things that have been happening a little more specific in my district about safety for children riding bikes or just the speeds that are happening. There was an accident this morning around 8 o'clock where a car had hit someone that was going to high school. I asked Chief to give me some more details on that, but that was brought to my attention. There's been several, he says there's been several incidents where there's pedestrians, bikes, and cars that have increased. And so, I don't know how we would want to talk about or look into it, but I asked Chief to maybe give me some information or find out what we could do to offer some safety classes to parents and children or something about that on road rules with respect to bicycles or other things. Just trying to figure out how to make it a little safer because it has increased.
You're talking about on 3rd Street in particular?
Not just 3rd Street, but it was 6th Street, also over on 5th. So those 3 are the main ones that I've.
How broadly can we stretch school zones and the signage for that?
Yeah, typically school zones, you can go up to 1,000 feet. Usually it's about 500 feet where you can paint the, delineations yellow to highlight. I think really what we can endeavor to do with Public Works and engineering as we resurface and repave these roads, I certainly see a lot of opportunity to improve the current striping. I visited 3rd Street multiple times, 3rd and L by the school, and I appreciate Public Works touching up the existing striping. That certainly helps. But there's a number of things that we can do to make our intersections safer, especially with the stop signs, always stops. Oftentimes, because we have the wide roads and we have adjacent parking, right? The stop signs are placed offset too far to the right. And in those instances, where I've done in the past is actually carve out a little space in the center line, in the middle, using wheel stops and add a second stop sign there. So those are little things that we can do to make it more effective. But again, everything requires funding. The one thing that we have been doing in coordination with, police and public works and community development and construction is staff has been meeting on a regular basis, on a monthly basis to tackle traffic issues. So anytime we get a request via, complaint, phone call, website, anywhere, including comments I've received from council, we try to bring it up, informally, right? With keeping in mind that, oftentimes with traffic collisions, litigation often follows, especially when there's major injuries or fatalities, right? Christine knows it usually comes a couple of years later. So we have to be careful how we agendize and discuss things. So we try to keep it informal, but we do try to stay ahead of the game, meaning we'll proactively look at, collision data on a monthly basis. If we notice any trends, we'll try to address those. If there's complaints of speeding, we'll ask, PD to target enforcement in certain locations. I think we have staff that's committed and everyone's trying to work towards, making our streets safer for everyone, especially our pedestrians and cyclists. But unfortunately, it's going to take time and money. And, just to give council a little bit of a heads up, in my experience where I've been implemented, this monthly coordination, what often comes out of that is that in about a year or so, we may identify a number of issues where we may return to council and ask for some targeted funding. We need money to add more signs, to add more striping in certain locations. So, we may ask for a couple $100,000 to do some safety improvements in different areas. So that could come out of that regular coordination.
Would any of the ARPA dollars that we have left, could they be allocated to some of the funding that he's talking about? Tom?
Yes.
It's infrastructure dollars. So
No, I've got it. So there's a few things. There's some things that like Matt and I have discussed that we can like do right now that we already have like kind of localized money for. And for example, we've had a number of public comments about the intersection that just got restriped, and there's sort of an idea about, some bulb out ideas that would choke down lane widths. But one of the things that's just a reality is that we talk about this as it relates to just road funding in general, is our road funding dollars are just about enough at, what do you say, Matt? 20, what's their total lane miles in Lincoln? 200, 250?
Yeah, I think, yes, I believe it's about 250 lane miles.
So 250 lane miles in Lincoln. So we have just about enough money, like if we have major issues, potholes, things like that, that we can kind of keep a handle on those, and that's about it. If the road measure passes, that will essentially, we'll get it roughly 3 times the amount that we're receiving now, which will allow us not only to just do more maintenance, but we'll be able to do some of these kind of pedestrian improvements and traffic safety things in areas, especially the downtown, really more than anywhere, because people got to remember that these roads weren't built during a time when traffic engineering and safety is to what it is today, certainly, and they were built just during, a gridded street system that didn't conceive of the amount of traffic that was passing through that all the time now. So kind of have to rebuild the safety infrastructure around old infrastructure.
I was going to say, paving was not conceived at the time.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So obviously the vehicles were going much slower in those days. So anyway, the answer to that question is I think either way, whether or not the road measure fails, we do have some resources to address them, but we've got to be, like Vince said, prioritize like where are the areas where we're seeing, the most hurt, and then we try to address those. And you don't want to always have to be playing from behind, but that's just the reality of road funding in Placer County.
If the revenue measure passes, we hope it does, That's $14 to $15 million to Lincoln annually.
And I wasn't looking for, you know, a bunch of money to go toward road safety and things as much as, I was hoping for community awareness as, you know, with parents and children with bike riding and, because there's a lot of, and I was talking to Chief, we have the NEV lanes and bike lanes all over. And you have a lot of electric bikes and stuff that go fast. They just do. And so I was just talking to Holly a little bit, and I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll talk to a couple of the bike shops or something. Maybe there's something we can put together where there's some safety classes or something.
Yeah, maybe just to, I know we're going too long here, but maybe to wrap that, one thing we could do, I don't think we do it in Lincoln, but a lot of communities do, is we could start to work on kind of creating a bike rodeo every year where kids and families can show up. They talk, police usually will run it. They'll talk about safety, et cetera.
Or service clubs.
Yep.
Do that also. a
Give
lot.
away free bikes, helmets, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So just very, very quickly, Ben brought up something that has been in the back of my mind for a while. All these new electric bikes that are out there, kids doing 35, 40 miles an hour on an electric bike alongside our roads. There's got to be some new discussion about ordinances surrounding that on the horizon. The League of Cities must have taken that up. And so moving forward, I can't imagine we don't address that.
That's what I was thinking of.
Okay. No other council initiative. Committee reports.
I have
First week of
WAPMA
the
and
month.
this law this week, yeah.
Yeah.
But not, we'll report next time.
I had none.
So I'll make these real quick. So SACOG continues discussing the individual projects that will go into the blueprint moving forward. Many of our projects are not included, many are. What I have to accept is their promise that whatever happens on the ground in the future, whether it's included in the plan now or not, will be included in the plan. So I'm going to trust that process and hope that that plays out, and whoever happens to represent the city in the future, if that does not, then we need to run that down. But the more interesting conversation there was a workshop held afterwards where the state of California came in and did a presentation about where they are in replacing gas tax dollars. And their two paths are both fee-based. One is vehicle miles traveled, where you pay for every single mile that you drive. The other would be a flat rate. Right now, just for argument's sake, they're throwing out $25 a month. And how that would be collected is up in the air. It could be DMV, it could be your insurance company, it could be any number of things. The real concern for me on the vehicle miles traveled version of it is we're all going to have to report out in some way how many miles we've driven on public roadways. And the preference they seem to be heading in is having your car report on you. GPS just report out your mileage. So that's where they're heading. I don't know that, and it's spreading across the country, various forms of that. I don't know how far out it is. My guess would be 3 to 5 years. But put it on your radar. That's where things seem to be heading. The other was Sparta and Lincoln's Sparta 2-tier fees, along with a lot of the other communities, were increased slightly. Lincoln's was increased by $9. BIA was informed of it, had no issue with it. So that's it.
Okay. Information items. No information items. I guess I'm going to
I
adjourn.
do have one item, Mayor.
Oh. And.
Really quickly, we do have a next Tuesday on the 17th, we do have a workshop here on the first floor from 5 to 7 p.m. This is for the next phase of the Lincoln Boulevard project where
That's right.
it's in the early scoping phases. We're contemplating how we can resurface the road and redelineate it and perhaps make it a little safer for people who wish to bike north and south along the corridor between the railroad tracks and the existing highway. That way we'll not only provide them access to the retail shopping centers, on the east side, but as the future Lincoln, what is that called, 270 or that, medical complex ever develops, we have a connection to that. And it really is not that long a distance if you think about it. It's even walkable if you think about the stretch of Lincoln
Depends on
Boulevard.
who you're talking to.
So I hope to see some of you there. That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff.